Too many men are lost. They do what society tells them, only to get the opposite results. They give their all, only to be met with indifference. They pour their hearts out, only to be ghosted. And then they wonder, what did I do wrong? Let me make this clear. Attraction isn't about logic, it's about instinct. Women don't think their way into desire, they feel it. And if you don't trigger the right instincts, you'll be nothing more than a backup plan or, worse, an option she doesn't even consider. In this video, we're diving deep into the 5 types of men that women always reject. These aren't just opinions. These are hard, tested realities of female psychology, and if you don't learn them now, you'll keep repeating the same mistakes, getting the same rejections, and never truly understanding why. Stay locked in, because each one of these will open your eyes. Number 1. The weak-willed man. A weak-willed man is invisible to the world. He's overlooked, dismissed, and forgotten. He wonders why no one listens to him, why women show no interest, why his presence barely registers in a room. And the reason is simple. He carries no weight, no conviction, no backbone, no presence that commands attention. This man doesn't make decisions. Decisions are made for him. He doesn't assert himself. He waits to be given permission. He doesn't lead. He follows the path laid out by others. And worst of all, he is trapped in a cycle of weakness so deep that he doesn't even realize it. Women reject weak men instinctively. They don't think about it. It's wired into them at a biological level. When a woman meets a weak man, she feels it before she even fully registers why. He hesitates when he speaks. He avoids conflict. His voice lacks certainty. His body language screams submission, not dominance. And in that instant, her attraction dies. If you're listening to this and feel uncomfortable, good. Because weakness is not something you were born with. It's something you allowed to take root. And that means you can rip it out. But before you do that, you need to understand the full weight of what weak-willed men do that guarantees rejection, disrespect, and failure in every aspect of life. The weak-willed man is the guy who apologizes for existing. He walks on eggshells in conversations, constantly afraid of offending someone or saying the wrong thing. He's overly agreeable, nodding his head at everything just to avoid confrontation. He lets people talk over him, disrespect him, and push him around, all because he's terrified of standing his ground. And here's the truth about the world. No one respects a man who doesn't respect himself. Women don't, men don't, bosses don't. Even friends lose respect for a man who lacks conviction. You think being agreeable makes you likable. It makes you forgettable. You think avoiding conflict keeps you safe. It makes you a coward. If you never set boundaries, you will be walked on. If you never speak with conviction, your words will be ignored. If you never stand up for yourself, you will be pushed aside. Women want certainty in a man. They don't want to be the ones leading, deciding, and carrying the weight of both roles. When a woman senses weakness in a man, she may tolerate it at first. But over time, her disgust grows. She may not even be able to explain it, but she feels it. That deep, primal realization that this man cannot handle life, let alone protect and lead a family. And when that realization sets in, her attraction dies completely. And here's where it gets even worse. Weak-willed men don't just struggle in relationships, they struggle in everything. Their careers stall because they're afraid to ask for a raise, take a risk, or demand respect. Their friendships deteriorate because they have no presence. People only keep them around out of convenience. And worst of all, their own self-respect crumbles every time they let fear dictate their actions. And here's the most brutal truth. If you are weak, you will be used, discarded, and forgotten. The world does not care about weak men. Society pretends to care, but deep down, weakness is punished. People use weak men for their own gain, squeezing every last bit of value from them before moving on to stronger, more confident men. Women reject weak men not out of malice, but out of survival. A weak man is a liability. A man who can't hold his ground, who can't make firm decisions, who can't assert himself, is a man who will crumble under pressure. And women do not want to gamble their futures on a man who falls apart when things get hard. So, how do you stop being weak? How do you break free from this prison of self-doubt, hesitation, and fear? First, you must embrace discomfort. Weakness comes from avoidance, avoiding conflict, avoiding risk, avoiding anything that forces you to be uncomfortable. And every time you avoid discomfort, you reinforce weakness. You train your mind to seek safety instead of strength. You condition yourself to fold at the first sign of difficulty. That stops today. From this moment forward, you embrace the hard path. Speak your mind, even if your voice shakes. Take on challenges that scare you. Put yourself in situations where failure is a possibility, because it's in facing failure that you become unbreakable. Second, you must stop apologizing for being a man. The modern world tries to shame men for being assertive, decisive, and confident. But guess what? Those are the very traits that command respect. Stop filtering your thoughts. Stop watering down your presence. The moment you start speaking with certainty, standing tall, and asserting yourself without hesitation, people feel it. Third, you must take ownership of your life. Weak men blame others. They blame society. They blame their parents. They blame women. They blame luck. Strong men take full responsibility for everything in their lives. The moment you stop making excuses and start owning your circumstances, your mindset shifts. And finally, you must cultivate absolute self-reliance. Weak men seek validation from everyone around them. They look for approval before making decisions. They hesitate because they fear rejection. Strong men don't care. They make choices based on their own values and accept the consequences without fear. Let me tell you something. When you walk through life without the need for validation, everything changes. Women respond differently. Men respect you. Opportunities come your way. Why? Because true confidence is magnetic. And confidence isn't pretending to be strong. It's knowing, deep down, that you can handle anything life throws at you. There is no shortcut. There is no hack to confidence. You become strong by doing hard things, standing your ground, and refusing to let fear dictate your life. And here's the irony. The moment you stop trying to be liked is the moment people start liking you. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment people start respecting you. The moment you stop fearing rejection is the moment you become unstoppable. So make your choice. Continue being weak, invisible, and overlooked, or step up and claim your place in this world. Stop hesitating. Stop apologizing. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to be strong. Because strength isn't given, it's taken. And if you don't take it, no one will hand it to you. Number 2, the emotional slave. A man who cannot control his emotions is a man who is destined to be weak, manipulated, and rejected. If you don't master your emotions, they will master you. And when a man is ruled by his emotions, he is nothing more than a slave to his impulses, his fears, and the opinions of others. This is the harsh reality. Women despise emotionally weak men. They will never admit it out loud because they have been conditioned to say, "I want a man who is open with his feelings." But in reality, the moment a man starts whining, overreacting, or falling apart, her attraction dies. She may not even understand why. It's biological. A woman is wired to seek a man who is stable, composed, and in control because at her core, she is looking for security. Weak men confuse expressing emotions with being controlled by emotions. There is nothing wrong with feeling something. There is nothing wrong with experiencing pain, frustration, or sadness. But the moment you let those emotions dictate your actions, you have lost control. You have surrendered your masculinity, and the world will punish you for it. Women may tolerate an emotional man for a while, but deep down, they resent him for it. When you break down and start venting your frustrations, thinking she will comfort you, thinking she will admire you for your vulnerability, you are committing social suicide. She might listen, she might nod, she might even give you a hug. But in her mind, she's thinking, "This man is weak. He is not my rock. He is another burden." She might not even consciously realize it, but the feeling is there. She starts responding slower to your texts. She starts pulling away. She starts seeing you as less of a man and more of a liability. The respect evaporates, and where there is no respect, there is no attraction. Why do women crave strong men? Because life is brutal. Women want stability, not emotional volatility. The moment she sees that you cannot handle pressure, the moment she senses that you fall apart at every inconvenience, she loses faith in you as a leader, as a protector, as a man. And here's where it gets worse. It's not just women who lose respect for emotional men. Society does too. Men who cannot control their emotions never win in life. They are the ones who explode in anger at the wrong moment and ruin relationships. They are the ones who break down and quit at the first sign of adversity. They are the ones who live in a constant state of reaction, never thinking strategically, always being pulled around by their feelings like a puppet. When you lack emotional control, you become predictable. And when you are predictable, you are easily manipulated. This is why the weak-willed man gets exploited by women, by bosses, by society. People see his emotional instability and they use it against him. A weak man gets into an argument with his woman. She tests him, pushing his buttons, seeing if he can hold his frame. But because he lacks control, he lashes out, gets emotional, loses his temper. And in that moment, she knows he is weak. He doesn't have the self-mastery to remain composed. He doesn't have the strength to walk away or handle it calmly. And now she has total control. A weak man gets challenged at work. His boss criticizes him, and instead of taking it in stride, he reacts emotionally, gets defensive, maybe even complains. Guess what happens? He gets passed over for promotions. He gets seen as unreliable, because real leaders do not crumble under pressure. A weak man faces setbacks in life. Maybe he gets rejected. Maybe he experiences failure. Maybe things don't go his way. Instead of learning, adapting, and moving forward, he complains, blames others, and sinks into self-pity. And then he wonders why no one respects him. Men who let their emotions control them do not succeed in any area of life. They lose in relationships. They lose in business. They lose in personal growth. They become a slave to their feelings, and slaves are never free, never respected, and never in control of their own destiny. So, how do you break free from emotional slavery? How do you develop the kind of ironclad emotional control that makes you untouchable, respected, and powerful? First, you must separate emotion from action. This is the foundation of Stoicism. Feeling something is fine, but acting based on feelings alone is a mistake. A strong man acknowledges his emotions but does not act impulsively. He feels anger but does not explode. He feels sadness but does not fall apart. He feels pressure but does not panic. He remains calm, calculated, and in control. Second, you must build resilience through discomfort. Weak men break down because they have never trained themselves to handle stress. They have avoided hardship their whole lives. They have never conditioned themselves to handle pressure, to withstand criticism, to face failure without crumbling. If you want to be strong, you must seek out challenges. You must deliberately put yourself in uncomfortable situations and force yourself to remain composed. Third, you must learn to walk away. The emotional slave is ruled by his attachment to people's approval. He fears rejection. He clings to relationships that are bad for him. He overreacts to everything because he is desperate to be accepted. The moment you realize that you do not need anyone's validation, you become untouchable. A man who can walk away from anything is a man who is truly free. Fourth, you must master your mind before it masters you. Your thoughts create your emotions. If you constantly think weak, victim-minded thoughts, you will always feel weak and emotional. If you let every inconvenience control your state of mind, you will always be a slave to your environment. You must train yourself to think logically, act rationally, and always remain composed. This is the truth. Control your emotions or be controlled by them. The choice is yours. If you continue to let emotions dictate your actions, you will always be weak, always be disrespected, always be overlooked. But if you learn to stay calm under pressure, to master your reactions, to move through life with composure and strength, you will gain something that most men will never have: power. Because the man who can control himself controls everything around him. Women respect him. Other men look up to him. Life rewards him. Not because he is lucky, but because he commands his own reality. There is no excuse for emotional weakness. If you want to be respected, if you want to be successful, if you want to be truly free, you must develop unbreakable emotional control. Anything less is submission to weakness, and submission to weakness is submission to failure. And that is not an option, not if you want to win. Number 3, the approval seeker. A man who chases approval is a man who will never be truly respected. Seeking validation is the fastest way to be ignored, overlooked, and dismissed. The moment a man depends on the approval of others, he hands over his power. He becomes needy, predictable, and easily controlled. And the cold truth is that women, men, society, no one respects a man who cannot stand on his own. Women sense an approval-seeking man from miles away. He's the guy who's constantly checking his phone to see if she texted back. He's the one who asks, "Are you mad at me?" even when nothing is wrong. He's the one who adjusts his personality depending on who he's with, just to fit in. Every word he speaks, every action he takes is designed to please others, and deep down, people see it as weakness. No one follows a man who follows everyone else. When a woman senses that you need her approval, she instantly knows that you are not a leader, not a man of certainty, and not someone who can handle pressure. She may tolerate you, she may even humor you for a while, but deep inside, she will never desire you. Think of the men that women chase. They aren't the ones begging for attention. They aren't the ones playing it safe, trying to say the right thing, walking on eggshells. They are the men who stand firm in their own reality. They don't chase, they don't overanalyze, they don't ask, "Did I say something wrong?" They exist in their own frame, and the world bends to them. Seeking approval is self-sabotage. When you constantly seek validation, you are telling the world that your own judgment is not enough. You are saying, "I need you to tell me that I'm good enough." And the second people sense that weakness, they stop taking you seriously. A weak man enters a room and immediately scans for approval. He checks people's reactions before speaking, adjusts his energy to match what he thinks they want, and holds back his true opinions out of fear of rejection. A strong man walks into a room and owns it. He speaks freely, knowing that his words have weight. He is not waiting for permission to exist. It's easy to fall into the trap of approval seeking because society conditions men to be people pleasers. From childhood, Boys are taught to be nice, to always agree, to avoid conflict. But what does that create? Men who never stand for anything, men who apologize for having an opinion, men who are afraid to say no because they think rejection means they did something wrong. It's the man who doesn't need validation that commands attention. When a man is comfortable with who he is, without needing outside reassurance, people naturally gravitate towards him. When he makes decisions based on his own judgment, rather than worrying about what others think, he becomes a leader, not a follower. Women test men all the time to see if they are approval seekers. She might disagree with something you say, just to see if you'll back down. She might take longer to text back, just to see if you'll get nervous and double text her. She might challenge you in a conversation, just to see if you start scrambling to justify yourself. If you do, she knows she owns you. But if you remain unshaken, if you stand firm in your thoughts, if you hold your ground without becoming defensive, she feels a deep respect for you that she cannot control. The world is ruthless to approval seekers. Employers don't promote them because they lack the confidence to take charge. Friends don't admire them because they blend into the background. And women don't desire them because they lack the strength to stand alone. A man who truly understands his worth does not chase validation. He creates value, and the world responds to him. Number 4. The Indecisive Drifter. A man with no direction is a man who will always be overlooked, forgotten, and rejected. If you don't have a clear path, a clear mission, a clear purpose, you are just another passenger in life, waiting for things to happen instead of making them happen. Women do not respect men who drift through life aimlessly. They might sympathize with them, they might even offer encouragement, but they do not desire them. Because at the core of attraction, a woman is looking for certainty. She is looking for a man who knows where he is going, a man who has a vision and the drive to execute it. If you don't have that, she will not see you as a leader, as someone who can provide stability, as someone worth investing in. Life does not reward men who wait around for something to happen. It rewards men who get up and make things happen. Too many men waste years, even decades, living passively, hoping that one day something will change. But nothing changes until you do. Drifting through life means you're making decisions based on convenience, not intention. You take the first job that comes your way, even if it's not something you care about. You stay in a relationship that's going nowhere because you're afraid of being alone. You go through the motions, waking up, eating, working, scrolling on your phone, and repeating the same cycle without any clear progress. And then you wonder why life feels empty. A man with no mission has no magnetism. He is just existing. He has no fire, no drive, no hunger. And when a woman senses that, she feels nothing for him. She might be friendly, she might even be polite, but deep down, he does not inspire her. Look at the men women chase. The men who have women throwing themselves at them are not necessarily the richest or the best looking. They are the men who have a fire inside them. They are going somewhere. They have a purpose bigger than women, bigger than approval, bigger than themselves. That kind of man is electrifying to be around. He is rare, and women are drawn to rarity. A drifter, on the other hand, has no gravitational pull. He floats from job to job, from relationship to relationship, from city to city, without ever building anything meaningful. He wastes time in meaningless distractions, video games, social media, whatever keeps him distracted from the fact that he has no real direction. It's not about money. It's not about success. It's about the way you move through life. You could be dead broke, but if you have a plan and the determination to execute it, you are already above 95% of men. But if you are just floating, waiting, hoping things will work out, you are in dangerous territory. Because life does not wait for weak men, and neither do women. The solution is not complicated. Pick a direction and commit. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be $1 million idea. But you must be working towards something, whether it's mastering a skill, building a business, improving your fitness, creating something. You must be moving forward, because a man who is moving forward has momentum, and momentum is what separates winners from losers. When a man has purpose, women feel it. It's in his presence, his confidence, the way he carries himself. He does not chase, he does not drift, he does not wait. He is already moving, and the world moves with him. Number 5. The man who fears rejection. A man who fears rejection is a man who will never experience true freedom. He will never know what it feels like to live without limits, to move through life with absolute confidence, to take risks that lead to rewards beyond imagination. A man paralyzed by rejection is a man who is already defeated before he even tries. His fear controls him, defines him, and ultimately destroys him. Rejection is a fact of life. It is unavoidable, inevitable, and in many ways, essential. But most men are so terrified of it that they never step forward, never take the leap, never put themselves in a position to succeed because they are too busy protecting themselves from the pain of failure. The irony? In trying to avoid rejection, they ensure it. They reject themselves before anyone else has the chance. Fear of rejection is why men stay stuck in dead-end jobs. They don't ask for promotions. They don't take the leap into something greater. They settle for mediocrity because they are afraid of hearing no. They convince themselves that they aren't ready, that they need more time, that the risk is too high. But deep down, it's not the risk they fear. It's the potential embarrassment of failure. It's the thought of trying and not succeeding. And that fear keeps them trapped in the same spot, watching as others who have the courage to act rise above them. Fear of rejection is why men fail with women. They hesitate, they overthink, they try to be perfect, but in reality, their fear is what makes them unattractive. A woman can feel when a man is scared. She can sense when he is unsure of himself, when he is hesitant, when he is afraid of taking action. It's in the way he fumbles his words, the way he stares at his phone waiting for the right moment to text, the way he waits too long to make a move and ends up stuck in the dreaded friend zone. No woman is attracted to a man who seeks permission to exist. No woman is drawn to a man who lets fear dictate his actions. When a man hesitates, when he second-guesses himself, when he needs constant reassurance before making a move, she loses all interest. Because a woman doesn't want to be your confidence, she wants to be drawn to it. Men who fear rejection live their lives walking on eggshells. They avoid conflict. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid standing up for themselves because they are terrified of being disliked. They want to be liked so badly that they sacrifice their own self-respect in the process. And here's the brutal truth. The more you seek approval, the less you get it. Rejection is a test. Life is constantly testing men to see if they are worthy of success, of respect, of admiration. Every time you get rejected, the world is asking you a question. Do you have what it takes to keep going? And most men fail that test because the moment they hear no, they fold. They take it personally. They let it crush them instead of fueling them. Rejection is not the enemy. Weakness in the face of rejection is. Every man who has ever achieved something great has faced rejection more times than the average man can even comprehend. They have failed, been laughed at, been told they weren't good enough, been ignored, dismissed, cast aside. The only difference? They kept going. A man who does not fear rejection is unstoppable. He moves with certainty, knowing that rejection is simply part of the process. He does not take it personally because he understands that rejection is information, not condemnation. A woman turning you down is not a statement about your worth. It's simply a sign that she is not the right fit and that there are others who will be. A business deal falling through is not the end. It's a lesson, a redirection, a stepping stone to something greater. Men who fear rejection live in small, confined worlds. They don't take risks. They don't expand their horizons. They don't experience the fullness of life because they are too busy avoiding the possibility of hearing no. But the men who embrace rejection, who use it as fuel, who see it as part of the game, those are the men who win. Look at any successful man, any athlete, entrepreneur, artist, leader. How many times do you think they were rejected? Do you think they let it break them? Or did they push forward using every failure as fuel? Every no was just one step closer to a yes. The most dangerous man in the world is the one who does not fear rejection, because he keeps going where others quit. He does not hesitate, he does not overthink, he does not crumble under pressure. He takes action without waiting for approval, and because of that, he commands respect, attracts opportunity, and experiences life in a way that most men never will. Fear of rejection is a choice. It's a habit that men have conditioned themselves into, believing that rejection equals failure, equals shame, equals something to avoid at all costs. But the moment a man rewires his mind to see rejection as simply part of the journey, everything changes. Suddenly, rejection is no longer scary, it's necessary. The man who fears rejection lives a small life. He never speaks up, never takes action, never reaches beyond what is comfortable, and as a result, he never grows. But the man who embraces rejection expands. He grows in confidence, in resilience, in strength, and over time, he becomes undeniable. Imagine walking through life with zero fear of rejection. Imagine approaching any woman, any business deal, any challenge with complete certainty, knowing that rejection means nothing to you. Imagine being so unshaken by failure that you simply adapt, improve, and keep moving forward. That level of fearlessness is rare. It is powerful, and it is the difference between the men who win and the men who watch from the sidelines. A man who does not fear rejection is free. Free to speak his mind, free to take risks, free to chase what he wants without hesitation. And when a man operates from that mindset, he becomes magnetic. He stops being desperate, needy, hesitant. He moves with confidence, with purpose, with an energy that demands attention. The world is brutal to weak men. It chews them up and spits them out. Women ignore them. Opportunities pass them by. But the man who faces rejection head-on and keeps moving forward, he becomes something different. He becomes a man that people cannot ignore. If you are afraid of rejection, understand this. It is not the rejection itself that is holding you back. It is your reaction to it. The pain of rejection is temporary. The pain of never trying, never pushing, never knowing what could have been. That pain lasts a lifetime. This is your wake-up call. Stop running from rejection. Start running towards it. Because the men who seek it out, who learn from it, who grow because of it, they are the ones who rise while everyone else stays stuck. Everything you want is on the other side of rejection. The only question is, will you have the courage to go after it? The truth is harsh, but it's simple. Weak men get rejected, ignored, and left behind. If you are weak-willed, emotionally unstable, approval-seeking, directionless, or afraid of rejection, life will punish you for it. Women will never desire you. Men will never respect you. And worst of all, you will never respect yourself. But weakness is not permanent. You can change. You can decide right now to step up, to break free from the patterns that have held you back, to build the kind of unshakable strength, confidence, and purpose that make a man truly undeniable. Most men will ignore this message, They will stay weak, stay passive, stay afraid. But if you've made it this far, you are not like most men. You are ready to take control, to rise above, to become the kind of man that commands respect, success, and attraction. If you refuse to be weak, drop a comment below saying, "I will never be a weak man." Let the world know that you are stepping up. Hit the like button. This tells YouTube that more men need to hear this message. And if you are truly serious about transforming into a stronger, more fearless version of yourself, subscribe to the channel right now. It costs you nothing and has the power to change your life.